Hi, I'm Nichelle, and today I'm going to be talking about how I got my book deal. I've actually already recorded this once, but I was like far too close to the camera. Like I was like a little bit too up in your business. Unfortunately, I did film 2 other videos in that same setup, so those were just leaving because like I can't re-record all of them, but this felt too important. And also we weren't with my rainbow books, and I wanted to be with my rainbow books for the special announcement. So yes, I got a book deal. This is not something I anticipated happening this year. I had planned to query an agent in the next couple months, and so yeah, you can imagine that having a book deal was not on the list. So let me kind of explain how we got here, how we got from in the beginning of January me having like really no idea that this is a possibility to on Friday my book deal was announced in Publishers Marketplace. I've gone through the story in my head a couple times, and there's like several places I could start. There are times I started in 3rd grade, which seems like a little early. So instead I'm going to start you when I'm in high school, just to like kind of give you a glimpse into my writing journey. I was not one of those girls who was like, I'm going to be a writer when I grow up. I've always been a reader. And the only time I've ever like really written in a serious capacity before the past couple of years was when I was 15. I spent a summer writing Twilight fan fiction. I am not sure how much of it exists now. My sister found it while I was in college and I deleted it all off the internet. And I have copies of some of it saved, but not all of it. So that's unfortunate. Maybe at some point I'll make a video reading some of it because I'm sure it's delightful. Beyond that though, I like have a few pages, like I feel like a lot of people do, where I was like, I have a story idea and I write like a page. After college I started working on a novel a little bit more seriously. I say that very loosely. I would write like a few thousand words here and there, and then I would like abandon it for like months to years at a time, and then I would pick it back up again. I think I have like a total of like 30,000 words in this project. Anyway, all that to say that like I was not someone who like considered myself a writer. But then the pandemic hit and I started reading books like a fiend, you know, enjoying reading. I'd started kind of writing in that project I mentioned earlier. Sporadically, I started on like another like super for fun project that no one will ever see and I will not discuss further. Don't ask me any questions. It was like a few days after my 27th birthday. I remember because I was going to brunch with my best friend to celebrate my birthday later that morning, and like on the drive to brunch I like kept thinking about this idea. I got the idea for my first like novel that I would ever complete. We're gonna call it Hen and Lou. It is not the novel that I got a book deal for, so spoiler. But it was this contemporary fantasy, it was a romance. It was essentially me being like, you know what, these books that I love reading are like not comforting enough. During the pandemic I reread Twilight, I read Midnight Sun, obviously. I re-listened to all the Harry Potter books. I read a lot of Discovery of Witches is like a big comfort read for me. I reread all of those books, and it just like nothing was hitting the spot. Especially as the election started to happen, like the lead up to the election started happening in August and September. I was like very stressed and I just needed somewhere to escape to, and like books weren't even cutting at this point. I was like concerned we were going to go into a civil war. Things were tense, if you recall. And so I started writing in this very like silly, light, fluffy fantasy world in September. September 17th is the first date I have for this document. I started writing, and by the end of October, I think October 28th, by the end of October I'd finished a full draft. I'd written, I think my first draft of Hen and Lou was 60,000 words, 65,000. I had finished a full draft of this novel in like 6 weeks, and I was kind of shocked and awed. Like, and this was not something I was writing with the end goal of publishing, although by the end, like, I won't lie to you, like, did have, like, who would I dedicate this book to if it ever got published? But I also knew that it was, like, incredibly bad. Like, truly, truly heinously terrible. And so after I finished it, I started revising it. And I revised it on and off for the rest of 2020 and kind of into 2021. But while that was happening, I had an idea for another novel. So mind you, Hen and Lou, like I said, was contemporary fantasy. It was also the first part of what I anticipated a series, like a trilogy. And so I knew that was going to be a hard sell in publishing based on like what I had read and heard. So I was working on that, was planning on querying that, but also was well aware that like that probably wasn't going to be it. As soon as I had the idea for Haunt Me Then, I felt in my gut that this was the book that was going to be my debut novel. I tried to convince myself otherwise, like rationally. I was like, you don't know that. But I felt in my gut, I like knew it. I knew it from the time I had the idea. And the idea started as like a little seedling and then, you know, grew and grew and grew. The first page of the novel actually came to me like in a full burst all at once. Pretty similar to how it stands now. I haven't done major edits with my editor, so who knows how it'll change. But I was actually walking my dogs and I like had the idea for the first page, and I like stopped in the middle of the sidewalk at this park and just sat with my notes app and just like typed it out on my phone. I knew this novel was going to be it. And so I kind of let it percolate for the rest of the spring as I was revising Henry and Lucy. I wound up querying. I did like one round of querying for Henry and Lucy. I knew that you're supposed to do querying in like multiple rounds. That's what like, everyone says. They're like, it allows you to make adjustments to your query letter. It allows you to make adjustments to your pages. Like it allows you kind of some wiggle room, right? I was like, no, I'm going to send them all at once. Because I knew that as soon as I started receiving rejections, the chances of me continuing to send query letters was like fairly small. Like I can be brave in a short burst, but like long term, no. So I was in Portland and I decided to send my query letter in for Hen and Lou. I sent it to about 20 people. I got 2 full manuscript requests, and then those manuscript requests eventually turned into rejections. Anyway, so I put that to bed, and while that was querying, I knew I wanted to start another project, and so I started Haunt Me Then. I wrote a full in quotes draft of Haunt Me Then. It didn't have an ending. It just it had like some outlinings, some like bullet points for the last few chapters, but like I couldn't write the ending. So it did not have an ending. Anyway, I left it. It was at like barely 50,000 words. It was shorty. And I started another project. I really wanted to write a contemporary, so I wrote a contemporary, and then I was like, I should really start editing Haunt Me Then. But instead, in November, I did compete in NaNoWriMo instead. So that was the choice I made. But also while that was going on, I did do some minor revisions for Haunt Me Then because I wanted to submit it to Pitch Wars. So I kind of did like a pass-through draft, made some changes that I knew I wanted to make, went through and like edited grammar and spelling and things just so it looked a little bit cleaner, and also finished it. I knew I needed to have a finished manuscript to submit to Pitch Wars, which is a mentorship competition that is now defunct. I like submitted to the last one. And I did not get a single manuscript request for Pitch Wars, nowhere Pitch Wars. So, but at the end of Pitch Wars, or during it's like in the middle of Pitch Wars, it's after the application process has closed, but before like the reveal where the people who were selected have to like show off their manuscripts. There is a Twitter pitch contest, and it's called Pit Mad. Again, that is defunct. I participated in the very last one, which makes this story feel like a little bit more special. So I participated in Pit Mad. I had 2 manuscripts that I felt like were ready to go. So that would be Hen and Lou, my contemporary fantasy romance, and Haunt Me Then, which was a gothic horror. And I wrote Twitter pitches for both of them and send them out. You can send out 3 tweets per manuscript. And so I did that. Sent out my 3 tweets. I got like not no response, but like not, I would say like quite moderate response. I wound up getting between my 2 manuscripts, I wound up getting kind of like 4 responses. Editors and agents will like your tweet if they want more from you. And so I got one for my fantasy romance from a like clean, tiny indie publisher, who I didn't wind up sending my manuscript to because it didn't fit all their requirements. It was like they were like very strict about like what could be included. And Hen and Lou also got interest from an agent who had also liked a tweet for Haunt Me Then. So we had one agent who was interested in both my manuscripts. And then I got 2 likes from a pair of editors at Sourcebooks. So they worked together, and it was like very clear that they were working together. The agent essentially was just inviting me to query. She was close to queries at the time, but like because she had liked my tweets in Pit Mad, she invited me to a query, and I sent her queries for both. It was like very strange. I was like, hi, you requested both of my things, so here are both of my manuscripts. And so I sent her 2 queries. And then the agents, or the editors that had liked my tweet, they wanted a full manuscript. So I went ahead and just sent them all of Haunt Me Then. They wanted some other stuff too. And I just sent it all to them. I was like, whatever you want, here you go. And that was the first week in December. That was like December 2nd. And I kind of like put it out of my mind. Like I didn't like forget about it, but I wasn't thinking about it. I had gotten pretty practiced, one, with my like querying experience, but two, I had started working with like beta readers and critique partners on both my manuscripts. So at that point I was like pretty practiced in like sending my manuscripts out and like then putting that into a back corner of my brain, because the first time I did it I like really fixated on it and it prevented me from getting anything else done. So anyway, put that out of my brain. I had gotten like big critiques back from a CP on Henry and Lucy and was kind of working through those. The holidays were happening, so I wasn't writing a ton. Moving into January, I was digging into edits on Henry and Lucy, my contemporary fantasy romance. I was also preparing Haunt Me Then for Author Mentor Match, which is another mentorship program. And those applications were due like mid-January, early January. So I was doing some prep for that while mostly working on Hen and Lou. I didn't need to do too much prep for Author Mentor Match because I had submitted all my materials to Pitch Wars and done the prep then. And so I submitted to Author Mentor Match and again, got not even a single manuscript request, nothing. So Author Mentor Match, like the announcement of who got selected was happening on Friday. The Friday before that I got an email from those two editors at Sourcebooks being like, hey, we would love to schedule a time to chat about Haunt Me Then. And I was like, excuse me. I like lost my mind. I was like, I just like wasn't anticipating it. It was like not anywhere on the trajectory. I had very much anticipated like getting an agent, having my agent send things out on sub, like it being this like long drawn out process that is like what most people have to do. But anyway, I was obviously very excited about this call, very nervous, and emailed them back, scheduled the call for the following Monday. So now Monday is when I have a call with a publisher, essentially, with two agents at a publisher, and Friday, Author Mentor Match people were announced. So Monday I have this call. It's like a 30-45 minute call. They talk about my book. They talk about some edits that they foresee happening. I had spent the weekend like coming up with a list of questions, but I was so nervous by the time the call came around that when they asked me if I had any questions, I said no, even though I had a list of like 10 questions sitting right next to me. I was like panicked. And they were just like, we'll be in touch. And I was like, okay, great. And then I got off the call and I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm like lost and confused and was like, what happened? And then I didn't hear from them for a week. Author Mentor Match people were announced on Friday. Wasn't selected for that, which I wasn't anticipating because no one had requested my manuscript. While this was going on, Haunt Me Then was out with readers. I had met some readers through Author Mentor Match to do kind of like manuscript exchanges with. And so I had readers. I had someone who I was working with on like going back and forth on my query. Like I was like working on things. And then the following Monday, hope you're following, I got an email from Sourcebooks with a full offer for not only Haunt Me Then, but also for a second book. And I was like shell-shocked. Couldn't believe that was happening. It was insane. Absolutely crazy. I read through the offer, was like, and they were like, you are of course welcome to get an agent, or would recommend you either have an agent or get like a lawyer who's familiar with publishing contracts to look over this. And so I emailed them back and was like, hi, I would like to get an agent, which is something I knew I wanted to do. So let's rewind a little bit. After I'd gotten off that call with them the week prior, I'd started putting together a list of agents because I knew that if they offered, I was going to want to then reach out to agents to represent me in this. And this is not something you have to do when you get a book deal independently, but it was something I knew I wanted to do for a couple reasons. One, I knew I wanted someone who was really familiar with publishing contracts to make sure to negotiate my contract so it was as favorable for me as possible. Not only like advance numbers, but also like royalty rates and option clauses and all the different stuff that goes into a contract. I wanted to make sure it was something that set me up well to move forward with my career. And also, I wanted an agent because I would like to write more books, and so having an agent to sell those books seemed like a good idea. And if I had a contract on the table, I knew it was going to be easier to get an agent, obviously. So I had a list of about a dozen agents that I was going to reach out to. I think it was actually 15, but I think once I actually queried them, some of them were closed for queries. I think it wound up being like 13. I think 2 of them were closed. Let me tell you, the experience of querying with a offer on the table and like a time frame, I did give my agents a 2-week time frame to kind of get back to me, is like a significantly different experience. I got my first manuscript request 9 minutes after I sent the query. So that was wild. I wound up at the end of the day getting 6 manuscript requests from that, and a few rejections and then a few no responses, and which you take as rejections. So from those 6 manuscript requests, I got 4 people that wound up offering, which was very stressful. So I wound up having a bunch of phone calls with those. So I had my first phone call on Friday, and I had like all my agent questions ready. I talked on the phone on Friday, and then I had calls on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday the next week, and then I made my decision the following Tuesday because Monday was President's Day. So it was like very much a whirlwind. It was very stressful. I did not sleep. I had like hives all over my body. It was just like a crazy, crazy process. I loved all 4 women I talked to. I think my book would have been in really great hands with all 4 of them. But I wound up going with Claire because I felt like she was the best fit for not only this book, but for my career moving forward. There were kind of 2 big things that I was looking for. Like, I asked them like a lot of questions and, you know, had long conversations with all of them. But one, how willing to kind of work with me in the fullness of my career did they seem to be. I have kind of, in the time I've been writing, have been writing like quite diversely. Like, I have contemporary fantasy romance, I have just like contemporary like adult women's fiction, I have this horror book, I have like a kind of a wide spectrum of things, and I wanted to see how open they were to dealing with that, and also kind of what their response was. Didn't want someone who was going to be like a yes man, who was like, yes, we can do whatever you want, but I wanted someone who was also not like, you need to stay in your lane, if that makes sense. So I wanted someone who I felt like would be a good partner for all of my work, not just this current project, and also someone who I felt was confident enough in Haunt Me Then, in my current manuscript, that if I decided not to go with Sourcebooks, not to go with the current offer, that they would be comfortable submitting it broadly. But essentially I didn't want someone who was just going to like take their 15% cut from an offer that I'd already gotten. So I wanted someone who was going to have really strong negotiating skills for this contract, and also who liked this book enough to warrant working with me long term. Anyway, so I did wind up going with Claire at Inkwell. She's awesome. I love her. She has like already, like literally in just the advance numbers, earned her 15%, which is how much a standard agency commission rate. She's already earned her 15%, not to mention all the other stuff she was able to negotiate for me in my contract, and not to mention the fact that we're going to have a long-term partnership. I highly recommend an agent. I've only had one for a few weeks, but she's great and I love her. So that happened. I signed with her on Tuesday. By Friday, I believe it was the following Friday, she had negotiated my offer, and then on Monday I accepted that offer officially with Sourcebooks, and then it was a couple weeks later. That was like at the very, very end of February, and we just announced in Publishers Marketplace my deal on last Friday. There's a lot of Fridays and Mondays in this story, this tale. And so yeah, that's how I got my book deal, which is very exciting. I'm like very excited about it. It feels very surreal because this is not at all how I anticipated it going, because I essentially got a book deal from a tweet. So wild. It was funny also because like right after Pitch Mad, Alexa Dunn, who I love, her videos like literally saved my life during this time. She posted a video about how like Pitch Mad is dead, and then like Pitch Mad is truly dead now. Like they ended because like numbers were way down. Like there was not those like mass amounts of agents and editors participating, but I think for me it was just like it wasn't the number of people, because I did not have an extraordinarily large number of people liking my tweets. I just had like the right people like my tweets, and that's like really what matters at the end of the day. So anyway, yes, I have a book deal now. I kind of like don't know what I'm doing, kind of don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. This is wild and crazy. So now I'm kind of like replanning my entire rest of the year, because obviously it's going to look a little different because I have to edit a book. And also my book deal was a 2-book deal, so I'm starting kind of like planning and doing a little bit of writing on the second book, because that's going to be due in January to them. So, or as it currently stands, my second book will be due, like the first draft will be due to them in January. So I have to write that because I don't have another horror under my belt. I have a lot of manuscripts in the drawer of my computer, but I don't have another horror, and that's what they want from me. But I started on one. I'm excited about it. I don't know how this works. I don't know how my second book works. I assume I have to like pitch them, and they have to be like, yeah, we like it. So I don't turn in like something that is nonsensical. I'm like, I'm gonna write about an alligator swamp monster who bites off the toes of children. Like, I don't think they want that. That's not my idea. So So yeah, that's what's happening right now, is me being like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I don't know how to plan going forward. I'm waiting on an edit letter from my editors so I can dig into edits on my manuscript. I do have some idea. Like I said, we talked about some of the major things they wanted to see changed in a second draft. Most of it was stuff that I knew was going to need changed. Like I said, essentially Haunt Me Then is in a second draft. When I queried Henry and Lucy, it was in its 5th draft. And so I had not planned on even querying Haunt Me Then until I had gone through another draft with it. So they have I knew it was going to need a lot of work. So we're digging into that soon. Let me tell you a little bit about my book. I've been talking a lot about it. So its title is Haunt Me Then, and Haunt Me Then is a reference to Wuthering Heights. I picked myself a bit of a Taylor Swift, not really, but I do have this, cute little Easter egg on my laptop case. This is my favorite line in all of Wuthering Heights because it's the line that makes me cry. Wuthering Heights is a book about sociopaths. It's not super romantic, but this part is. So this is after Catherine dies. Catherine the Great, the old one, not Catherine Jr. Why is everyone in that book named Catherine? I have a lot of complaints about Wuthering Heights, but that's neither here nor there. It's also brilliant. Emily Bronte, what a queen. But Heathcliff is kind of throwing a temper tantrum outside because he's just found out Catherine has died. And he is like, you said I killed you, haunt me then. He just cannot even think to be parted from her, and so he's asking for her to haunt him. And so that is what that is a reference to, because as much as this is a ghost story, as much as Haunt Me Then is a spooky ghost story, it is also a love story, as Bly Manor would have you believe. So let me read you the little synopsis thing that we put out with Publishers Marketplace. Nichelle Giraldez, that's me, Haunt Me Then is pitched as The Push by Ashley Aldrain meets The Haunting of Hill House, the television show, not the book. I've never read the book by Shirley Jackson, so I don't know if it has anything in common, but the TV show, and more The Haunting of Bly Manor. But haunting is an exploration of grief and family and community and love. A feminist story about a woman who moves into a new home with her husband and becomes unexpectedly pregnant. And as her body and house transform her life in horrifying ways, will have to confront the trauma of the past to save her present. So yes, very exciting. It is 1 ghost out of 5 spookiness currently. I think we're going to up the spookiness a little bit. Yeah. I am excited to kind of talk more about it as we get closer. It's coming out fall of next year is kind of the anticipated release time. This is not going to turn to a writing YouTube channel because I have no idea what I'm doing. I think one of the biggest things that my book deal has illuminated for me is the difference between a unpublished and a published writer. Well, I'm not published yet, but a book deal writer versus a pre-book deal writer is next to nothing. Nothing. They have endowed me with no knowledge. I haven't got my edit letter yet. I do think working with an editor will help me become a better writer because a professional editor will help structure that. But as far as tips and tricks, I have none for you. I have none. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how I wrote this. I don't know how I'm gonna write another one. I've written, this is Haunt Me Then is the second book I ever finished, and other people are gonna get to read it. So the difference between me and someone who has a book that they have not gotten in front of the right person yet is none. Maybe at some point I'll feel I have a sense of what's going on and I'll be able to give tips. But for now, I'm mostly just I don't know what's happening. And I don't have any tips and tricks for you because I am confused. I think it's good. I don't know. I am both how did this happen to me? But also I'm it is a good book. I'm trying not to fall into the trap of imposter syndrome, although, how could I not? How could I not? I do think Haunt Me Then is great. I love it. But also, I wrote it on my computer in my bedroom. Right here. I was sitting at that desk that you're sitting on right now. And I wrote a book. And some people were we want it. We're going to take it. And we're going to make it into a book that people can read. And I was okay. Okay. It was like very strange being an author mentor match kind of as this was happening and realizing that like the difference between, because a lot of the mentors in that are agented but agented authors who have not been like picked up from sub yet, and being like, oh, I don't know if there's like truly a substantial difference between the two of us. These people that I was looking to mentor me, suddenly by the end of this process I was technically farther along in my career than they were. And that felt strange. It is a very strange process. There's no like clear landmark. I don't know. We're figuring it out. But anyway, you will not be catching me giving writing advice for a little bit. Here, I will tell you, I will describe what I'm doing if people are interested in that. My 3 subscribers, one of whom is myself, as we know. My favorite subscriber. Biggest fan of myself. And if people are interested, I will do some writing videos about like how I do things, but I am hesitant to give any advice because I don't know what I'm doing. Am I doing things right? I don't know. Seem to work, okay? But I think this is mostly going to remain books. We have fun videos where I'm too close to the camera coming up because, again, I filmed too close to the camera. And I filmed 3 videos, one of which is this one, which I'm re-recording, and the other 2 I'm not re-recording because they weren't as important. This one felt important, you know? And I wanted to kind of be in front of my rainbow books. I love my rainbow books. Okay, this is just me rambling now. There will be more kind of updates on this book as the process goes along. We're in for a journey, but don't expect the content to totally shift to writing. We're still mostly going to be talking about reading books because it turns out I read significantly more books than I write in a year. And like, I would consider myself more of a reader than a writer. This is unhinged. I can't believe that people get paid to make up things and write them down. That's all I did. I made up a story in my head and I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And now people are like, here's some money. What? That seems weird. It seems weird. Okay. Anyway, subscribe if you're interested in hearing more about my publishing journey or about books. Mostly about books because, again, I read significantly more books in a year than I write in a year. So, anyway, that is what happened to me this past month. Was I got a book deal, and it was a crazy cool, fun time. And if you want to be along for this crazy cool, fun ride to see when Haunt Me Then comes out, our little cutie patootie ghost story about my ghosty girls, stay tuned because it will tell you more. It'll tell you more. I will tell you more. You will be the first to know things unless I tell other people first. Okay. XOXO.